in the last poll in 2010. A suicide car bomb has exploded in Somalia. Police said it went off near one of their training centres in the capital, Mogadishu. It killed at least 5 people. No group has claimed responsibility. We'll bring you more on that as we get it. And Indian courts upheld the death sentence for the sole surviving gunman of the 2008 Mumbai attacks. Mohammad Ajmal Kasab was found guilty in May for his part in the attacks that killed 166 people and injured more than 300 others. Now, joining me from the Indian capital, New Delhi, is our correspondent Pranav Suri. He's been listening into that verdict itself. What does this actually mean for Kasab now?
Well, Sohail, it just means that it's going to take a few more years before Kasab's death sentence can be carried out because, according to the Indian law, whoever is awarded a death sentence in this country, they have an automatic appeal to the highest court of this country, which is the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court also confirms the death sentence to Mohammad Ajmal Kasab, he also has another option of appealing to the president of this country as in clemency appeal. Usually what we've seen in these cases is that it takes a few years, if not months, for any kind of logical conclusion of these cases. And just to take you through what happened at the court in Mumbai today, there's some very strong language used by the judges there. They're saying that this was an attack not just on Mumbai but on the entire nation. It was an attack on the sovereignty of India, and they personally held Mohammad Kasab responsible for 7 murders of police officers, one of them who was a counter-terrorism expert in this country. So it will take some time before that death sentence is indeed carried out, and his options are quite open at the moment.
Well, of course, no line could be drawn under that part of the circumstances, but there was a line drawn under, you might say, peace talks between Pakistan and India. Of course, they came to a grinding halt because of the Mumbai attacks. I mean, what news on that front, considering the verdict now that we're getting from the Supreme Court?
Well, absolutely. The Mumbai attacks were pivotal in bringing the two countries, as you said, to a grinding halt, and the current impasse that we've been seeing in the last few months as well. Mr. Kasab's testimony was also used as a strong case by India to suggest that they were indeed Pakistani-based insurgent groups who attacked this country. However, having said that, earlier this month, the two countries came together in Bhutan at a regional summit in which they announced that they would be resuming formal peace-level talks, and we are expecting in the next few weeks a series of meetings between the two countries, which will eventually lead to the foreign secretaries and the foreign ministers meeting in July. But the critique here is that if the two countries can move forward from what happened in Mumbai in 2008, only then can the peace process can actually lead to any kind of a logical conclusion.
Well, thanks for bringing us up to speed on that, Pranav Suri there in New Delhi. A drone strike in Pakistan's western tribal area has killed at least 7 people. Intelligence officials say at least 4 missiles were fired from unmanned US aircraft. They apparently targeted a training centre believed to be used by fighters in South Waziristan. It's the first report of a drone attack in the area for about 4 weeks. Well, toasting victory in Germany, the champagne's flowing for the opposition as the country's ruling party receives a drubbing in the regional elections. We'll have more on that in a moment. Plus, the cracks are showing how Chinese farmers are being urged to dig wells to overcome the worst drought in 200 years.
Hello, we've got warm sunshine across much of the Arabian Peninsula. No great surprise there then. But look, temperatures getting up to 28 Celsius. A few days ago, we were struggling to get into the low 20s. So pleasantly warm weather to come through Monday. A touch cooler as we go on into Tuesday. Highs here in Doha around 25 degrees, which still isn't too bad, really. We've got some rain, which is making its way away from Kuwait. It's running across Iran. Maybe seeing some wet weather and some wintry weather coming through Afghanistan, sneaking its way across those northern sections of India. But for much of India, the wetter weather is just around the east coast. We'll see some heavy showers also affecting a good part of Sri Lanka once again over the next day or two. Heavy showers continue to plague Madagascar, but I think the wettest of the weather will be across northern parts of Madagascar. Another 100 millimetres of rainfall possible here over the next 24 hours. Joining up with the heavy rain through northern Mozambique, southern Tanzania, pushing right the way into Zambia. South Africa, on the other hand, is largely fine and dry. Temperatures typically around the mid-20s. We've got some pleasant sunshine to come to into northern parts of Argentina. Buenos Aires at around 30 Celsius, but heavy showers continue for southeastern parts of Brazil. with a chance of further flooding to come into Bolivia. And we still have that very heavy rain for western parts of the Amazon basin around Peru and Ecuador.
He's taken stolen goods and he's now dumping them onto the world without any sort of consideration for consequences.
From people making the news.
If the North will be saved a lot of trouble, I think it is important that they should come together.
To those it affects.
We do accept that there was very bad mistakes made in our banking area.
Behind the headlines.
Most South Koreans are not interested in reunification.
Is the inside story. At this time on Al Jazeera.
Welcome back. Our top story here on Al Jazeera. Pro-reform unrest in Libya has spread to the capital Tripoli, and protesters in Benghazi are now claiming to be in control of the eastern city. The son of Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi appeared on state television warning of civil war, and Saif al-Islam says his father will fight attempts to unseat him until, and we quote, the last man standing. And in the last few minutes, Yemen's president says calls for regime change there are unacceptable. In India, an Indian court has upheld the death sentence for the sole surviving gunman of the 2008 Mumbai attacks. Mohammad Ajmal Amir Kasab was found guilty last May for his part in attacks which killed 166 people and injured more than 300 others. Reports from Sudan say the country's President Omar al-Bashir will not stand at the next election. That's according to a senior official from the country's ruling party. The next presidential elections are not due for 4 years. New proposals to try and end the political stalemate in Côte d'Ivoire are due to be put on the rival camps, or to the rival camps in the coming hours. 5 African leaders have been meeting in Mauritania to try to find a solution. Incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo has been clinging to power after disputed elections last year. Alassane Ouattara is the internationally recognised winner of the poll, but has rejected talks with Gbagbo. Côte d'Ivoire's economy is near collapse, with bank closures and dwindling cocoa exports driving the country towards ruin. Uganda's Electoral Commission has now officially declared Yoweri Museveni the winner of the country's presidential elections with 68% of the vote. It said over 5 million people voted for Museveni, who's already been in power for 25 years. His closest challenger, Kizza Besigye, received just 26% of the vote and says the polls were rigged. In the run-up to the elections, there were allegations that state funds were used to bribe voters.
There was multiple voting and ballot stuffing resulting from use of bloated voters' register. And in the 80 districts we sampled, more than half reported this malpractice. Voters were turned away without voting, as I indicated, because of the problems of the